Things just hit another level for the Minnesota Wild as a recent report from Michael Russo and Joe Smith at The Athletic revealed some crazy trade details, including the fact the Wild have continued to show strong interest in a certain young RFA winger from Buffalo, but also with the Marco Rossi trade proposal from Vancouver revealed, we had to dive into what it means for Minnesota, a likely player from Vancouver that was offered, and how that will affect the proceedings going forward, a Rossi contract discussion update, a bunch of great stuff on this episode of Wild Digest. We're going to get straight into it with JJ Peterka, Mark, and I want to talk about this again because he is one of the hottest names in the NHL right now, whether it's for an offer sheet or if it's for teams trying to trade for him. I mean, there was a lot of steam picking up with him around trade deadline, and I believe it was Calgary was interested, a bunch of teams were, but right now reports are that he wants a change of scenery out of Buffalo, and this from The Athletic, again, article linked below, please go read it, it's a wonderful piece by Russo and Smith. Guerin has made it clear that he doesn't want to make his team worse, so he'd be willing to take a center who can produce for Rossi or a winger who can produce. For instance, the Wild have shown a lot of interest in JJ Peterka, who is considered a winger by his current team. I would also consider him a winger, considering he plays wing. But like with JJ Peterka, Mark, like, how do you tend to agree with Bill Guerin's philosophy here of going out to get a winger now and a center later if you can? I assume in a Rossi deal, whatever that is, we'll get into that in a minute. Maybe you try and get one of the pieces back, but bringing in a guy like Peterka, no matter what, immediately bolsters your top six for many years to come. And I feel like if there's a way to pull this off, we should be looking at it.
I mean, the big thing is, listen, most teams in the NHL, it feels like, need a center. A lot of centers are coming off the market. Matt Duchene just signed with the Dallas Stars. So I think at this moment, when teams are panicking, looking for that center, Bill has the opportunity to go out and poach some of these wingers. Peterka would be an awesome piece. Only 23 years old. If you look at reports, even David Pagnotta of the fourth period went out and said that Buffalo is getting a lot of phone calls, especially on guys like Peterka, Bowen Byram. There's a long list. But if Bill can go out at a guy like this, I think his impact could come in like a Boldy type. You can have a guy scoring 30 goals, putting up over 70 points. We've seen him on the Buffalo team. If you want to flash the numbers again, you got to remember this is the stats that he had. And no offense to the Buffalo Sabres, but they don't have the impact and the star forward talent that we've seen with the Minnesota Wild. I think there's the next level with Peterka and him in the top six. I think you can worry about a center a little later, maybe into free agency, or maybe even trading for one once teams sign to settle on that position.
Yeah, and even if the Rossi contract does get worked out in Minnesota, I could see JJ Peterka and Marco Rossi working very well together. Like, this doesn't even have to be a trade where Rossi is involved. Now, from Buffalo's perspective, what else of value would Minnesota have that you could send over to Buffalo? Because again, we're kind of lacking on a lot of draft picks over the upcoming years. And, there are some good roster players on this team, but if you want to stay young, stay good, if you're Buffalo, if you're talking Peterka trade with Minnesota, you're probably talking Rossi. But hey, even if Minnesota could figure something out without that, I think Peterka could be a great fit on the team regardless. But let us know what you think of this new report about JJ Peterka. How we're still continually interested, because I know there's a lot of teams interested, but there's a zone right now, a window to make this team so much better. Again, that Kaprizov extension is coming. Something is coming to fruition with the Rossi situation. Matt Boldy's only getting better. Danila Yurov's coming over. Faber's only getting better. We're going to get a full season of Boyum. The Stars are aligning. Wallstedt coming up. It's an exciting time to be a Wild fan, Mark. But look, we do have to. I know we talk a lot about Marco Rossi, and I'm sure we've all read this report of what was offered from the Vancouver Canucks. We'll just get into it here. We want to reiterate it in case you haven't seen it, but according to Russo and Smith, and this was later confirmed by other sources, the offer was the number 15 pick from Vancouver and a player. They said, we'll see where it goes this week, but the one thing that's certain from talking to sources around the league is Guerin has been on the phone a lot and seems very motivated to make trades. Now, the fact, Mark, that we also heard from other sources that it was number 15 and a player. First of all, again, having a first-round pick in this year's draft is always a good thing, but Guerin is not really looking for futures right now. We want players who play now. From Vancouver's side, there's a couple of names that could have very well been put in this trade. I'm seeing some speculation of kind of just, RFA rights for Atu Ratu, or just some kind of AHL or maybe bottom 6 level player, which would not be even close to enough for Rossi. Mark, do you have any idea of someone from Vancouver? I think you just might that could very well have been in this trade talk.
I mean, looking at Vancouver, there was one guy they acquired last year in the JT Miller trade, what looked like the headline piece of it, and that is Filip Gustavsson. This was a name that we've seen circulating the NHL world for quite some time. There's a reported deal that this almost fell through in a trade sending Filip to the Ottawa Senators. So with the Canucks looking for center, with them looking at Filip as maybe not the long-term option at number 2, I think this is a guy that could make a tiny bit of sense. Listen, the injury history is brutal. It's something you don't want with the player coming back. But with Filip when watching him with the New York Rangers, watching him with the Vancouver Canucks, there's one thing he can do, and that is drive play in the neutral zone, carrying a line on the offensive end. Yes, he might not be the best basic guy. He might not be the best defensive. But if you want someone that has the output, someone that can show flashes, I think with Hedl, you have it there. But once again, Josh, those injuries, with the injury we've seen holding him out last year, a couple of years ago, I think there is a tiny bit of concern there. Maybe why Bill won't pull the trigger on it.
I think more than a tiny bit of concern, because he does have the size. Like, he's 6'2", right? Like, and he had a really good Corsi percentage. Like, he's a solid player. The problem is Filip who I think, like, in his career will top out as maybe like an okay number 2 center. That's not what you want if you're getting rid of Rossi, right? He's more of a like middle 6 center or winger who could like maybe play up in the lineup. He, like you said, he's had some good producing seasons. This past one, like many of his seasons before, riddled by injury, a lot of them head injuries, right? So that just does raise a level of concern. But again, speculation is just an idea of one of the players that could have been offered, but it just makes almost too much sense to not discuss this with that number 15 pick. So let's know what you think about that, or maybe another player from Vancouver. And would that be enough to trade away Marco Rossi, Filip and the 15th pick? Like, to me, no, like, absolutely not. Again, I know we talk about this all the time, but my price for Rossi's up here. But Mark, speaking of the price for Rossi, want to clue up this video by talking about the recent update on the extension talks, because again, I just feel like I'm banging my head against the wall with this stuff. Not going to talk about how much I wanted to stay all the time, but we got to just look at this, right? So as of now, this is what Russo and Smith said. The Wild and Rossi have taken a break on negotiations. Earlier this season, it was a 5-by-5 deal, 5-year, $25 million that was offered by the Minnesota Wild. He rejected. So the Rossi camp countered, like, hey, just give me a bridge deal at a higher AAV. Why don't we do that? The Wild said no. And then the Wild came back with, how about a bridge deal at a lower AAV than the 5-year deal we offered you? And Rossi was like, bro, leave. What are you talking about? No, of course not. So now there's a stalemate, and we have seen reports, Mark, that this is not the Wild organization and Bill Guerin having something against Marco Rossi, the player. We've heard that from Bill. We've heard that from various sources. It's about the Wild and Bill Guerin having a disagreement about Rossi's worth. To me, Mark, again, 5-year by $5 million is an insane lowball, but to hear this other thing too, that they recently offered a 2-year deal at less than $5 million, I almost feel like that's insulting. I don't know if they're trying to like break this relationship, but I'm starting to get worried that my boy is not coming back.
I mean, I think with the writing on the wall, seeing the multiple rejections, it looks like a bad night when you head out downtown. It's multiple no's in a row. What we're seeing with Rossi right now, we're seeing these contract offers. I think Bill has it set where he looks at this guy and says, this is our number. We are not going above it. It's either we move you or you take this offer. And it's sad to say because Rossi was a great piece, especially over the past 2 years for this Wild team. But I do think at the end of the day, it seems like the relationship is over and it's just a matter of time, not if Rossi's moved.
Yeah, I mean, some team's going to pay him. I mean, who knows if it's going to be 7-8 million like they're looking for. But regardless, we got to hear your guys' thoughts. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on right now. Let us know down below what your thoughts are on Peterka, on Rossi's contract, on the trade talks, all that stuff, because that'll do it for this episode of Wild Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for tuning in all off-season long. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Mark Pye. We'll catch you in the next one.